Hi guys, welcome back to Shadowboxing, True Crime and Combat Sports. This is episode 3. I kind of wasn't sure I was going to do this subject. When we get into it, I think you might understand why. For me, when I think of true crime, I think of things that are a little bit more violent in terms of there being a victim that's either been badly hurt or killed. And this obviously is not that. When we get into it again, you'll understand where I'm coming from. This is definitely a crime or a potential crime that was committed, but it's not violent. And so that maybe might not interest everybody, but it definitely is a big topic right now in the MMA community. And I took a lot of time to Google this and try and really learn the ins and outs because I really didn't know a lot about the subject. I don't follow, spoiler alert, Tim Kennedy that much. I think we all know I'm very liberal and he's not. So I don't tend to be in his sphere of content that often, but I couldn't help it when this topic came up and I wanted to grapple with it a little bit and figure out a little bit more about it. And you know what, to be honest, I wasn't even sure it was actually illegal at first. So that was one thing I wanted to learn about as well. So this is actually going to be an episode about Tim Kennedy and his claims of stolen valor. Let's see what we can learn. All right, before we get too far into this podcast, I want to just tell people who maybe aren't familiar with who Tim Kennedy is, a little bit of a background about him and his military career. So Tim Kennedy is a retired MMA fighter, former soldier, and a best-selling author who's become a big mouthpiece for the far-right conservative political movement. He fought professionally from 2001 until 2016, and he fought under the Strike Force and UFC banners, among many others. He holds wins over the likes of Michael Bisping, Robbie Lawler, Jason Mayhem Miller, and Melvin Manoff. He retired from MMA after back-to-back losses against Yoel Romero and Kelvin Gastelum. When he was fighting, he was known for his military service, as he was an active member of the Army while also fighting, which is really rare and something that a lot of people really commended him for at the time. In terms of his military career, I want to preface this by saying that I am not a military expert. So if I'm using phrases wrong or pronouncing things wrong, please bear with me. Let me know in the comments so I can fix it in the next episode. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that the correct terms are being used. He joined the military in 2004. And in 2007, he was assigned to the 7th Special Forces Group. During that time, he was a sniper instructor, and the principal combatives instructor for C Company, 3rd Battalion, 7th Special Forces Group. He was deployed during both Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. And in 2009, he transitioned to the Texas Army National Guard and then re-enlisted in the U.S. Army Special Forces in 2017. According to his Wikipedia page, he has numerous badges, including the Bronze Star, which we will talk about, the Meritorious Service Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the Army Commendation Medal. He has many others that are also listed. I wasn't sure which ones ranked higher, so I just went from the top of the list down. So please don't get mad if I've listed ones that are insignificant. Tim has written 2 books, Scars and Stripes, an unapologetically American story of fighting the Taliban, UFC warriors, and myself, and Without Fear. He's also a figurehead for his outspoken political views and has been criticized by many for those views. There was a time, I believe, that he talked about killing women and children, which was very controversial. A lot of people didn't like the way he talked about it. I also just recently listened to a podcast where he does talk about the number of people that he's killed, which seems a little bit crass, just in my opinion. I don't know if that's something that's normal within the military to kind of compare the number of people that you've killed. But that was something that kind of jarred me a little bit. And where we're at now is really what the issue is that he's finally admitted to something that he's been accused of for quite some time. And that's lying about something within his military career, an honor that he has. So here's what he wrote about the accusations. I want to take full and unequivocal responsibility for a serious mistake. Over the years, I made public statements and gave interviews in which I unintentionally misstated aspects of my military service. Most notably, I implied directly or indirectly that I had been awarded the Bronze Star with Valor. That is not true, and there is no excuse for it. I never received that honor, and I deeply regret ever suggesting otherwise. That kind of recognition is sacred. It represents extraordinary courage under fire, acts that risk or cost lives. To those who truly earned it, and to the families and brothers in arms, I offer my sincere and direct apology. What I said disrespected your service, and I take full ownership of that. I was young when I stepped into the public eye, and while I wasn't prepared for the scrutiny or pressure that came with it, that doesn't absolve me. I should have known better. Integrity is not situational, and I failed to uphold the standards I claimed to represent. To the military and veteran community, especially those who've served in combat or lost people they love, I am deeply sorry. I know I have let many of you down. You have every right to expect more from me, and I didn't live up to that. This apology is not the end, it's the beginning. I am committed to rebuilding trust through honest reflection, visible accountability, and ongoing service to the community I misrepresented myself to. I will no longer speak about my service in a way that elevates me beyond what I actually did. From now on, my words will be guided by truth, humility, and respect. I understand that words alone don't heal disappointment or restore trust. Only time and action will. Thank you to those who have held me accountable. I will do my best to honor that accountability from this point forward. I wanted to address also what exactly the Bronze Star medal is and what the V device signifies, because I wasn't quite sure. Some of these medals are kind of obvious. I think we all know what the Purple Heart is, but I don't think that everybody knows what the Bronze Star medal is. So the Bronze Star Medal is a decoration awarded for heroic or meritorious achievements or service. And when the V is added to it, it means that it was in particularly a heroic moment. So the person that had this was awarded the Bronze Star also was a hero or brave in the moment that earned them the Bronze Star. So it's an honor that's bestowed upon somebody, and then an additional honor on top of that. So it's more than just a misspoken thing. It's two separate distinctions. On January 6th, 2025, so earlier this year, he wrote another apology, or I guess not really an apology, a statement, and it reads this: I do not have, nor have I ever claimed to have, a Bronze Star with V device. I acknowledge that there are a handful of articles on the web, to include a third-party speech booking service, that annotate that award. I did not realize those articles were out there, and I have taken immediate action to correct them. So that statement came in 2025, so it came before that longer apology that I read. It seems like what he had said was he was sort of saying, yeah, there is some stories out there that say that I have this Bronze Star, when I really don't. But he sort of pushes the blame to third parties, people writing it in, bios that he doesn't have the responsibility for. But if you really go back and see, it's not just that. And I think he really didn't take accountability in that 2025 January 6th statement. So, clearly he's going to remove as much as he can. There's claims that he mentioned that award on his website. I couldn't find that. There were some videos apparently circulating where he was talking about it. I couldn't find those. But I did find a clip from 2017 where he was directly asked if he had the Bronze Star with a V device and how he earned that. So I'm going to play that for you now, and keep in mind that this was in 2017.
Okay, ma'am. Last question about military, then I want to jump back into combatives a little bit. You, per the source I have here, you have a Bronze Star with a V. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you mind telling us about what happened there and how you got that?
Oh, pretty straightforward. I think so. There was a bad guy, and bad guy was shooting at us, and I shot him. there's a whole bunch of us, and we all did it. So I wish there was like this great heroic story. There's not really. I like just did what I was supposed to do, like everybody else around me. And then I was trying to beat the other guys that were near me, because it's more fun when you get to do it.
I love it, man. So that's good stuff. All right, good answer.
Per military.com, Army and Pentagon officials took note of Kennedy as he began to rise in fame and became sort of a mouthpiece for the Army and a little bit of a PR representative for the services. I guess he had voiced some support for Sergeant Major of the Army Michael Weimer and General Randy George. And, quote, his overt Republican partisanship and exaggerated record is a liability, is what the military officials have said about this incident. He's also under investigation right now. So far, there's been no charges, nothing beyond just an investigation, but it definitely is something serious. And I want to talk a little bit about what stolen valor is and a little bit about what the potential punishments could be and all of that extra stuff that I learned because I wasn't quite sure myself. So the official definition of stolen valor is an act of falsely claiming military service, rank, or decorations to gain something of value. This can include lying about receiving medals, combat experience, or other aspects of military service to obtain benefits, jobs, or prestige. And you could very clearly see that Kennedy definitely has obtained benefits, jobs, and prestige from his military service. Now, it could be difficult if it does come down to a legal case, it could be difficult to prove that it was because of that one specific award, because clearly he did serve for a length of time, and technically I believe he is still serving in the National Guard. So we don't want to take away that from him. He definitely has that experience and that honor of serving in the military. So it may be difficult, and they may not want to take it to court because they would have to prove that it was because of that claim that he was able to get the benefits, the jobs, and the prestige. And that may be something he may not want to, or the military may not want to do. We could also say, in his defense, he could say, I didn't willingly lie, or I didn't benefit from lying, or, it was an accident. But from that clip right there, we see that he did know what he was saying. It doesn't sound like he, didn't see a bio that included it, or he just, nodded when someone said, do you have this award? It was definitely a clear-cut yes, and then an explanation of how he won. Won's not the right term. How he achieved that honor, earned that honor, when he doesn't have that honor. So that's definitely going to be bad if this does go to court. Some well-known cases of stolen valor are Wes Cooley, who's a former U.S. representative who claimed to have fought in the Korean War. Brian Dennehy is an actor, and he claimed to have been wounded in Vietnam. And George Dupree, who claimed to have worked for Special Ops and the French Resistance during World War II. All of those were proven to be false. The stolen valor laws have changed. So in 2013, they became much more strict about what constitutes stolen valor, and that was because of the United States versus Alvarez Supreme Court case, which somebody was able to prove that the original stolen valor law was too broad, and so it basically criminalized protected First Amendment free speech. So they had to make it a little bit more precise, and they added in the elements of the benefiting from talking about this honor. So just if somebody were to walk down the street and say, I have a Purple Heart, they couldn't be fined for stolen valor because they didn't benefit from that. Now, if they walked into a place that was saying everybody with a Purple Heart gets $100 off their bill, and he said, I have a Purple Heart, and then he got the $100 off, then you could say it's stolen valor because he benefited from it. So see where the difference is there? And now we get to what exactly could happen to him if it does go to court and if he is found guilty. That's going to depend on obviously a lot of factors. One of them is which level he's going to be fined or tried in. Could it be federal level? Could it be state? We're going to go with the highest, which would be federal level. The max that he could be punished would be up to 1 year in prison. But I don't believe that he would even qualify for that. It seems like it's for false claims about receiving the Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, Navy Cross, or Air Force Cross. And I don't believe that what he lied about is in that. Again, I don't know about the exact wording and like maybe the slang for those types of things, but I don't think he's under that 1 year statute. So it looks like it would be 6 months, because it looks like it's false claims about receiving the Silver Star, the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, or other combat awards. So it looks like the max that he could face of actual prison time is 6 months. But it also says that that fines can be imposed instead of imprisonment, which is probably what would happen if it got up to the point where he went to court and was found guilty, unless they're trying to make an example of him. I just don't see that happening. This is a big deal in our world, but I don't know that it's really that big of a deal in anyone else but MMA and like maybe military worlds. So I don't know. I guess we have to wait and see. I wouldn't be surprised if it never even gets to court. He may have to disassociate himself from the Army. He may be forced out of the National Guard. I don't really know what could happen, but we'll just have to wait and see. This has only been a few days. I am curious what you guys think. What do you think the punishment for stolen valor should be? Do you think it should be illegal? Do you think what he did constitutes a punishment of 6 months in prison? Do you think it was like just sort of a blip in a longer line of accolades that he really does have? Does it make you question all the other things that he says he has? Nobody's doubted those, but now does it make you doubt those things? What do you think? I want to know what should happen to Tim Kennedy, and try your best to kind of put the politics aside and just pretend that this is just, the run-of-the-mill serviceman, and it's not somebody that maybe you don't believe their views, or maybe somebody you do believe their views and you think that he shouldn't be punished because you do believe those views. So let's try and be impartial. I know it's hard, especially when dealing with politics, especially when dealing with war, but I really would like to know your thoughts in the comments. Again, please be nice. I will delete anybody that's really just being an a-hole. Again, come back next week. Let's see what I got. I think I'm going to do a murder next week. Something a little bit more vintage, should I say. I don't know. What do you want to hear about? Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for more updates.